the banana belt, or we could call it the cannabis belt. And we're also below that. You can picture it in the mountains too. You get that slung cloud that hangs off the peaks of the mountain sometimes. So we're below that. It's really an ideal space for growing anything. We also, we practice polyculture, so it's not just cannabis. We're growing apples and blueberries, and we have native huckleberries and plums, and so many things do well in our region. It's really a prime agricultural region.
Yes, yes. No, that's. I mean, and can you speak to? Let's get into the secret is in the soil, and you're fond of of closing loops, right? This is a regenerative conversation. We're here to kind of shed light with our community about not just one crop, but the polyculture, the synergy of many diverse biological intelligence coming together, that biophilia of having, certain food crops that might complement the cannabis and vice versa. So maybe you could speak a little bit to, I mean, some of this too comes from your grandfather, right? Your grandfather was very instrumental in teaching you and sharing the knowledge of specific crops to feed a big family. I know you're from a big family. My dad is one of 9 children, big Irish family, and I think this is kind of a part of our moment in history right now, and you're living this kind of dream of the ancient future of, we're using these kind of traditional best practices and applying them into this new industry, this new green renaissance of craft cannabis in California. But yeah, the idea of diversity and polyculture to steward the land.
Yeah, yeah, you touched on a lot there.
So yeah, sorry, it's stacked. I did a little research before, and I just there's so much to cover.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll do the best we can, but yeah, to speak to the point of you know going back to the old, and that's really where we need to go with agriculture, and and to quote Casey O'Neill from a Pure panel that we spoke on, he kind of refers to uh, regenerative agriculture being called the regenerative farm is reaching perfection, right? And it's something that you can try to achieve to do. Probably never will. You'll probably never close every loop. I'm still going to jump in my Tacoma and drive to town. Um, but we try to close as many loops as we can, and we try to be intentional and deliberate with our actions. We try to take some of the knee-jerk reaction out of situations that come up while farming or life in general, and just take a second to breathe it all in. And my family came to this country from Finland in 1968 and 69. I was born in 1970. I was the first born in this country. And my grandfather came over with the family of 10. My mom was one of 8. So they had this little city lot in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And to look normal to the neighbors, he put 2 apple trees in the front yard, but the back, he tilled it wall to wall. Um, cow shit into the back, and just he was resourceful, and that trickled down. And one thing I didn't even realize till now, and growing up in his shadow was just so amazing. But he was digging hugels. My 2 uncles and him dug hugels by wrapping logs with newspaper at the time and burying those down and I didn't know what we were doing at the time until recently, where I have a glossary list of like all the practices that have been done, through many farms around Humboldt and all over the country and all over the world. But now we kind of have a glossary list to identify some of these practices, and we can expand on them and have this dialogue about them. Um, yeah, I'll throw that back to you and keep it going.
Yeah, no, and I think that's it. And the key things were the abundance of food that grow in the hugel. For example, uh, your potatoes are infamous, and having tomatoes, potatoes, rhubarb. This is something seen with other kindred spirit farms in the area, and then
Yeah, I'll speak to that, and it came upon us a couple years ago, and I'm going to go to Instagram on this one.
That's right.
Because the regenerative family seems to really like throw a lot of Instagram as a resource, for each other, to help each other and to dig deep and to solve problems. And so I posted this little white bug looping around a little grain of soil. It's a symphylum or symphylum, however you want to pronounce it. And I posted it out, and we had it identified within a matter of moments. And some of the suggestions were potatoes. So that's where it all came from. And that first year we put potatoes, in the four directions of each plant. And we did the four directions to kind of have, that connection. But also, so when all the farming was done, and this was kind of like not really something we've done before, we could find the potatoes. So we could go to each root mass of the cannabis plant and know where the potatoes were late into the fall and early winter if we didn't want to harvest them. And sure enough, we had no issues with symptoms that year. And from then on, it's amazing how sharing just expands the overall idea. And I see folks doing it all over. And what we get from the potatoes was just that little fix, or to have that beneficial in the ground. But what we've learned is the green material comes up, the plant of the potato that's above ground, and that is shading the root zone, using less water because it's a shaded space, and it's also expanding over time. So it's breaking up the soils as they might be compacting over the year. And they also bring in, and they help balance and just bring more polyculture into the root zone. We want to have polyculture above ground, but we also want to have it below ground. And there's a lot of folks that are running hugel beds that have a lot of issues at first, maybe with gophers, voles, boring animals. And I showed multiple times this summer on our Instagram that the gophers and so forth, they really work outside that main root mass. And I had one plant on the entire farm go to the gophers. So when you look at it like that, I think it's important not to panic and just realize that they get their share too, and they bring so much more to the entire picture. In a hugel, you can have the gopher tunnels that are running through the subterranean zones, and once a week we would like to do a solid hand watering, and those tunnels all fill up with water, right? So you have this underground irrigation system and a holding reservoir that you wouldn't have otherwise. And we really just, with regenerative, we're really trying to just bring balance back into the ecosystem and let it do its thing, and take that knee-jerk reaction out of a problem instead of trying to trap, poison, kill these gophers. There were many years that we made cages out of hardware cloth. So we would wrap like a 5-gallon bucket as a mold, and then plant the plant inside that cage in the ground to keep the gophers out. And maybe that was more so a practice when we were limited to 25 plants. You didn't lose one of 25, and that's a little more traumatic. But now when we can switch from being, pot growers, so to speak, to cannabis farmers, and really treat the land in a different way, sure feels good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, and I think what is really cool and consistent here is this is a theme with regenerative. This process of defining the regenerative movement, and I think a key consistency is the pests. The word pest needs to be redefined. You know what I mean? It's not that everything has its purpose. Everything has a role to play here, and we see that they're not necessarily problems. We just need to kind of rediscover our roles as stewards, and kind of have that biological observation to find ways to work with the natural systems that are happening in our gardens. I love that analogy of these little critters making tunnels for water in the hugels, these mounds that decompose and build soil over time and sequester carbon. And I think the human role is in ecology is leveraging our ability, our consciousness, and our ability to observe and not eradicate, but cooperate and facilitate and find ways to evolve with the land. I think that's something in your experience too, like as you continue to evolve as a cannabis farmer and coming into light with the cannabis crop, but you're doing everything with it. Do you see your land, becoming more biologically diverse and intelligent over, like the?
Yeah, it's completely. It's really truly incredible. Another example I have about just sit back and observe for a minute is we had a plum tree, and I noticed curling of leaf crinkling on the outer 16 to 18 inches of it in the spring. And I was like, okay, what do I do? I could spray a suffocant, an oil, a neem oil, something like that. And I went through my options. I could cut it off, which would be okay. I could still get the fruit. And then I just observed for another week, and I just kind of left it alone.
Yeah.
And then I noticed all the ladybug larvae. So what it was is the aphids came in.
Great farmer on the line from
and did their thing, and that was causing the curling.
This is Cannabis Talk Radio, Santa Cruz,
hey,
Cannabis
here's
Connection,
a good meal for my baby.
Christopher Carr.
So they laid their eggs all over that, and we brought up our beneficial pollination, our beneficial population.
1080.
So next spring, we probably won't have an issue with that. And it was such a temporary moment. The tree still fruited. It actually grew out. This time of year it puts on a little more growth going into winter. And it grew out of it. It still fruited, and we brought up our population. So, that was really positive. And, I want to back up for 1 second. And, I like to try to be a good listener and listen to what my fellow farmers are seeing and hearing and talking about. And if I could quote Nick from Green Source Gardens up in Southern Oregon, and he likes to take a step back, and he says that instead of regenerative at the moment, we're probably under repair, and that really resonated with me. The properties we had
Craig
purchased in Southern
Alpenglow Farms in Southern
they were
Humboldt.
Historical logging sites.
Regenerative cannabis
And
conversation
they needed,
on
a lot.
Cannabis
they need
Talk
a lot
Radio,
more
Santa
time to
Cruz,
heal.
KSCO AM
But we can
1080.
assist that
You can
healing.
listen live,
By
KSCO.com.
not
Or
burning our
locally AM
flash,
1080,
shipping,
104.1
laying it down on the
FM,
ground, and sequestering that carbon, as you mentioned.
CBSradio.com.
And we noticed just
Growers
from the
Talk,
change
Breeders
of
Talk,
consciousness on our
Gardener
own,
Talk, Farm
that
Talk.
we're treating our farm, especially with the polyculture, we're treating our farm as a whole living biome.
Ooh.
And to paint a little better picture of that, we see a lot of folks, including myself at one point in time when, we were scaling
I'm here for
under
you
an
guys.
uncertainty with
Say
Proposition
hi to
215.
Johnny.
We had our medical
Congrats.
patch in the front yard mixed in with the veggie garden. We were way polyculture for many years when it was, it just really mixed in with the tomato plant, so to speak. And, we'd have the sheriff fly over, and there weren't solid regs around 215 when it first came out. And you'd have the sheriff fly over, and he would go on the radio on KMUD that night, and he would say, "We fly over a farm, we see 50, 100 plants in front of someone's house. We recognize that as being a medical." So we're at 25 plants. We're like, "Look, we maybe run to the store and add a couple more plants." So that's where some of this scaling came with the smart pot, with the the raised bed, these other techniques that were quicker to implement as we were going through these uncertain times. But
Thank you.
now with square footage
Thanks,
allowances
Emily.
and no plant counts, we can really finally settle into this farming mentality and move away from the grower mentality. But I kind of got off on a whim there. But I wanted to paint a picture of the smart pot on the flat. So
Yes.
you see some images, whether on Instagram or even on the news, and you'll see a cut flat and fresh bulldozer cut, and some people even put down a wheat barrier, and then they'll either put their grow bag or their smart pot on that flat, and there you go, they're off and running. Well, if you think about it, that's a complete arid environment, and the only little oasis in that whole arid zone is right there, inches away from the base of the cannabis plant where they have some sort of irrigation going. So any living thing is going to look for water in that oasis. So they have their pest pressures and their fungal issues and disease is all happening right there at the plant. So the plant is defending everything possible by itself. It doesn't have a whole living ecosystem with it. So at Alpenglow, we're treating the entire farm as a living being. So our pest pressures are at the neighbor, where they have the other practices. And, that makes me also think about, this is one thing in cannabis that we really need to open up the sharing and caring about, is these practices. We have this moment in time when the entire world, I'm not kidding, the entire world right now is looking at us for our cannabis, and we're going to sneak in our farming practices. And I feel that these regenerative farming practices are the key to changing climate and global warming and all the real issues with the planet itself.
Seen. Agreed. I think this is kind of it's bigger than cannabis, and there's so many conversations we have on this show that they're it's kind of exciting. I play reggae music, and it's prophetic with the Rastas always said the healing of the nation, and how this plant would it's the circle, it's the international herb. And part of this conversation too is what are our next actions as humans in this context of an ecological crisis that is modern society. And these I was just listening to that chef in Puerto Rico, and how he fed all those people and with his big team because of these hurricanes, and things of this nature are accelerating at a rapid pace. And I think one of the key things here are sharing this crucial knowledge and encouraging those that can to steward the earth, to grow a garden, and then provide for their families and their communities. And I think the consistencies that come with discussing cannabis talk can be relevant in culture in policy, in environmental stewardship. This is a much bigger conversation than just cannabis, and I think this is a great opportunity. Cannabis is this catalyst for change, and hopefully it starts with our individual lives, but then we can, share that with our communities. And you're absolutely right. The world is looking to California in so many ways, always has, always will, in many industries. But I think right now, with all of this mainstream media covering the business and the corporate progress of Canada, I still think that California will be the giant that will set the pace for the rest of the United States. And I do think, this conversation and sharing these best practices, with this opportunity and the excitement behind a new legal cannabis era, this is a special time for us to kind of shape a new endeavor that reflects our values. Coming from Southern Humboldt, coming from Santa Cruz, I mean, these are the back to the land, pioneers. And then, of course, Santa Cruz is this organic food, legacy. It's part of our cultural heritage as a people. So, of course, this needs to be implemented in the way that we steward this new crop that is not new at all, but it's new to the legal, mainstream consciousness. It's very exciting. There's so much more to cover. Let's take a quick break. We're at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to The Cannabis Connection. I'm here with Craig Johnson of Alpenglow Farms. I'm your host, Christopher Carr. We'll be right back.
Did you know that you can experience medical benefits of cannabis without feeling altered? Jade Nectar, specializing in non-intoxicating cannabis formulas that maximize medical benefits while minimizing or completely avoiding the psychoactive effects of THC. Our patients are able to experience effective relief while being free to go about their daily activities without the distraction of unwanted psychoactive effects. To find out more, visit jadenectar.com or visit Kind People's Collective.
Rooted in community, Treehouse serves up connoisseur cannabis culture daily for medical and adult use customers. Treehouse specializes in edibles and concentrates. We offer a wide selection of flower and feature the best new products. Come visit our space at 3651 Soquel Drive in Soquel. Order online at ourtreehouse.io. That's ourtreehouse.io. Join our community to stay in the loop at ourtreehouse.io.
Grassroots Fabric Pots offers premium made-in-America fabric pots and fabric-raised beds sewn in Sacramento, California. Their products are chemically safe, BPA-free, and are made to last. Grassroots sells a wide range of products directly to growers and offers custom sizes to fit your growing style. Join the Grassroots Fabric Pots community by following @Grassroots Fabric Pots on Instagram or visit grassrootsfabricpots.com.
GrowFlow software has been designed specifically with cannabis cultivation and manufacturing and distribution in mind. GrowFlow is the most user-friendly platform available for state reporting. GrowFlow provides an all-in-one system for cannabis businesses. Book a free trial today at getgrowflow.com and connect with a specialist that will help you organize your inventory and best prepare for business. That's getgrowflow.com.
Love you, Joey. Thank you, man. Got Alpenglow Farms from Southern Humboldt, talking about regenerative agriculture, regenerative cannabis,
verified, pesticide-free, available
building living soil. We'll be right back with him after the break.
Enhanced edibles or other products. With True Origins, your brand is backed with premium source material combined with leading-edge cold-pressed ethanol extraction. True Origins delivers a clean and trusted supply line for your business. For more information, visit trueorigins.green.
Welcome back to the Cannabis Connection. I want to say thank you to CanMed Events. The greatest minds in medical cannabis research are coming to UCLA for CanMed 2018. Don't miss this chance to learn about the latest advancements in medical cannabis science from top names in the industry, including Raphael Mechoulam, Bonnie Goldstein, Ethan Russo, Stacy Gruber, David Mary, and more. Buy your tickets at canmedevents.com today. I also want to say thank you so much to Cali Clones and Seeds. This is a local provider of quality genetics. I found some very fascinating rare sativa phenotypes, a Maui Pacific cultivar that I have never seen before, and love what's happening in our gardens, even in the R&D research gardens. Very excited working with some rare THCV cultivars. These are a great group that support cannabis education on community radio. I thank you so much, Cali Clones and Seeds. Check them out, and if you ever have any questions, feel free to connect with us. The Cannabis Connection Show at gmail.com. We are here. This is a community conversation, a service to keep people informed and up to date in a rapidly evolving renaissance that is California craft cannabis. We are back. My guest tonight is Craig Johnson of Alpenglow Farms from Southern Humboldt. It's a very exciting conversation. I'm honored to have him on the line, and we're going to jump right back into the flow here. A key thing that I've been fascinated with too is, you know, the ways of stewarding your land in a more biologically intelligent way. And I saw a live video that you did this week, which was kind of the catalyst that inspired me to reach out. But you have such a diverse garden and farm, and then you have you know, a lot of wildlife that is, you know, home. That's their home. But you're also not only attracting plants and animals, but you're retaining water and capturing water and holding water, you know, throughout the dry season. And here we are looking at the harvest and fall. So yeah, just share a little bit about your design and what strategies you've implemented for your home and your farm.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and that makes me think about one of the certifications we're a part of, and that is that we're DEM Pure certified, and that's Dragonfly Earth Medicine certified. And to be part of that, you have to meet some basic requirements, and that's identifying multiple closed loops.
Love to you, Mitch.
And for us, one of those is our rain catchment.
Some ancestry
and,
in there.
You know, some education back to the community, and really sharing knowledge and treating the land as a living being, and plants as living. So we have about a 400,000 gallon catchment pond. It is lined. We're on a mountainside, so we weren't really able to just dig a hole and make a traditional pond. That doesn't work so good in the mountains. You have to be pretty selective with your site. So we did line it, and we took a lot of care and intention with that to go with you know, the strongest liner possible, so it would last a long time. And then we added proper slopes to it. So if we are completely fenced, but if an animal got in, they could easily get out. And we also held back the contractor that we had help us with that. Said, okay, I'm ready to start bringing in the rock and rock all the top surfaces, and you know, all the dikes, so to speak, and all these spaces. And I said, whoa, you know, we've got a bunch of brush and some woody material, and you know, we're going to chip that, and we're going to literally lay some of these logs on the uphill slope of the pond to slow it, spread it, sink it, and to just sequester some of that carbon again. So out of our whole pond project, we did 0 burn pile. And the other thing the contractor said, okay, now let's go get a bunch of Caltrans mix, grass seed. And no, we won't do that either. So, you know, we went with Brasco mix and Daikon mix and native wildflowers and mustards, and oh my goodness, the place exploded with pollinators, and it just feels so good. I literally had people come through 3 months later, and they're like, "When did you build this?" Like it was that alive and that organic feeling urban. And that really feels good. And we took the time to make it so there was really nice, like I said, access and egress to the pond, and our family was able to enjoy it all summer, which was really, really nice. Some of those southern Humboldt days in early August are pretty hot, and
oh yeah.
so it was really nice, and it helped close yet another loop. We still have more work to do on it, as far as we have the gutters from our barn directed to it, but we still need to direct the gutters from our house. And then there's also a little bit of talk. We have 2 greenhouses, and we're thinking about maybe putting temporary gutter on that for the winter time, that we can divert even more water. But Southern Humboldt, we get 100 inches of rain, so it fills pretty fast. Filling is not an issue. Sometimes letting it flow is more important. And for that, what we did is we worked with a really conscious engineering company, and they did a slow it, spread it, sink it discharge. So
Nice.
it's a
Nice.
recharge system. Yeah, and there's still more work to do along that. We want to add more. We're doing these Hugel swales.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Is that Dan Marr by chance?
Yes, sir.
He's the swale king.
Yeah, Dan Marr is amazing, and Reka, and yeah, we're really blessed. We have such an all-star crew up here with high-tide permaculture, compliant farms, Stillwater scientists did our really intense engineering, and when it came into moving the compliance, I really wanted to connect with Humboldt companies, HSU grads, and really close the loop of the economic chain. And I think that's important to realize, to try to work within your town, your county, your region, before reaching
This is
too
Craig
far
Johnson
out.
of
When you're,
Alpenglow
keep that bucket full.
Farms. Alpenglow. I love it. One thing you mentioned too, I think there's this life force theme in farming, but also like one thing that I'm working with a team here in Santa Cruz is trying to educate people about the plant, and in the context of other herbs and essential oils. And a friend of ours wrote a really beautiful, I guess you would call it a blog post, but I would say this is a paper, but 3000 BC, 3 separate geographically distant civilizations, they all had their own word for life force. In traditional Chinese medicine, is known as qi. In ancient India, where Ayurvedic medicine was born, and the word is prana. And in ancient Egypt, the word is ka. So in the context of what she writes, she's talking about health and human wellness. But I think in some ways, the regenerative approach to stewarding land and soil and crops, in a way, is like you're taking care of this interconnected life force. And I think just thinking about that, maybe you can speak to this, because of, with polyculture, with kind of embracing all the critters and all the insects, and being outside, being out in the sun. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the importance of sun grown, and transition into maybe talking a little bit about some cultivars. But I do want to think about, this life force idea in the context of, our regenerative movement.
Right. Yeah, you touched on a couple things, and one thing you did leave out is the benefit of having fungal presence in your soils.
So important.
Yeah, right?
The internet, right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of how I refer to it. It's the fastest growing organism, I believe, on the planet. I'm not a scientist.
I believe so. And a third of any handful of soil that you pick up, a third of the weight is fungal, whether it's living or decomposing. But yeah, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
Yeah, and you nailed it. It's you can think of it as the internet of the soil, and I can have my cannabis root
Rod.
attached to it, and now that intelligence and that communication travels miles probably because it's so interconnected, and then that's when it can connect with biology and draw in what it really needs from a much further
have your
distance.
Cannabis for dessert.
And again, that's why we need to get out of the containers and into the soil.
Closed loops.
The other, I'm going to jump back to the benefit of having your roots in the soil. If you've grown in a container at some point, that edge where the container is meeting the earth is the green lushness. And you're going to move that container, and that's where all the worms are. And I feel, when I see a worm, I feel that that's the canary in the coal mine for farming with biology. You see the worm, you're off to a good start.
Nice.
Right?
Agreed.
Yeah. So one of the benefits of that, or one of the ways we've been able to bring in that fungal balance to our soil is partnering with a friend of ours that does mushrooms. So he sources tan oak sawdust from the logging industry here. He seeds his mushrooms in these bags of tan oak sawdust. They form a block. He puts them on, picture shoe racks in a warehouse.
Mushroom
and
talk,
grows out
my
mushrooms,
favorite.
2-3 times. And then that block is cast. So we'll come through and capture that block, bring it to the farm, and work that into our soils and our compost.
Wow.
And we deliver back to him firewood from our land. So we're trying to...
Wow. Closing loops.
Closing loops again and again. And this is our first year going on the mushroom blocks, and it is incredible, the difference. It's staggering. You can dig where even one of those blocks was laying on the ground, and below it is like just coffee ground feeling soil.
Jeez.
Because it's all casting.
Oh my gosh.
You get a handful of worms.
Oh my gosh.
We started being a little strategic, and I've learned so much from working with Josh and Kelly at Dragonfly Earth Medicine, and to know what mushrooms to companion those with cultivation. And I use the King Stropharia.
Okay. Okay.
I also do get the blocks, because my friend does it for culinary. So I'm also getting oyster
and cool.
reishi, and I'm also getting shiitake. So I'm not that particular with what blocks I get. It's kind of like a little composter.
Yeah.
If you make a pile, it'll start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you have
too worried about it, and it's like, you know what? Just get fungal dominance and fungal balance, and let's just start making it all cook.
It's diversity, more the merrier, right?
Exactly. And, I do want to. I know how quick this conversation is going, but I do want to loop in one thing that we're doing the season over the winter is I'm part of a conference. Last year, I was invited just to lead the Dempier Farmers panel on it, and this year I'm going to actually be able to go on tour with the conference. And the conference is the Science of Organic Regenerative Cannabis Cultivation Conference. So a lot of work there.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going to Vancouver, BC, Redway, California. So that's the one right here in Southern Humboldt, and it's going to be the amazing beginnings Octagon. And we hope to do some farm visits. I know last year we brought Dr. Lane Ingham up to Alpenglow, and that was just such a treat to
wow.
my soil and the Google bed in my greenhouse. And that was a monumental moment for me. And then we're also going to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is amazing because we had some folks drive from Ann Arbor to Redway last year to see the conference. So now we're going to be able to go to their home and talk to that group of farmers there. And then we're going to our furthest tip east, and we're going to go to Portland, Maine.
Oh man, Maine.
Yeah, Maine. Yes.
You're going on tour.
The Regen tour. Yeah. So it'll be, the room will be filled with not VIPs but VRPs, very regenerative people.
Oh yeah, love it. No, it's like it's the Blues Brothers. You're getting the band back together, and you guys are taking it on the road. I mean, it's so important, and I'm so excited for you because you are going to get a glimpse of America, and you're kind of, you're the small farm, biological, fungal, like all of this righteous, wholesome message. You're taking it on the road, and it's relevant to thinking of Michigan, thinking, everywhere you visit, it's going to be a very enriching process. But these are all new places that are turning on, that are, the laws are changing, things are evolving, and what a great time to sow these seeds.
Yeah, Google Nation.
Google Nation, that's right. There's a lot of good stuff here.
Have to do, I like going live on my Instagram feed at Alpenglow Farm 707 at sunrise. That's one of the things. So on the tour, I want to continue that and pop up live at different folks' farms or mushroom facilities, and just have a lot of fun with it, and let folks that can't make it to the event just have a lens into the world that we're experiencing and share. I could be more excited about it all.
You know what, Craig? I just saw that we have a caller from British Columbia. It looks like.
Oh my goodness!
Let's.
Santa Claus.
It may be. We'll see. Welcome to the Cannabis Connection. You're on the air. Hello.
How's everyone doing? Hey, how's everyone doing today?
Hi. Is this Josh?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. How are you? Oh, this is Dragonfly in the house.
Yeah, everything going on there. Just wanted to show our appreciation, Craig, Alpenglow, you guys, and everyone in Santa Cruz, for bringing the conversation forward and just showing some examples of what we care for the earth while producing this, sacramental medicine.
Well, give thanks.
You're bringing your teepee again, so I think if we could reach out to all the listeners out there and in these waves to come and find us at the teepee, and let's carry on some good dialogue and keep this story going. Exactly, it'll be
an opportunity for people to still be able to interact with the farmer and then be in a nice place and a kind of a somewhat of a lodge, and be able to hold the space is just really important, because the corporate cannabis model is not very personal, so the more that we can keep our story and our personal love in there, that's going to be our mission moving forward. So yeah, we're really looking forward to being at the Emerald Cup and having all the farmers there participating, and also the regenerative farm tour that you mentioned as well is something that's really exciting.
Josh, it's interesting you mentioned that, and at what point will scaling equal failing? And I don't wish that, because there's a lot of excitement around it, but at some point we have to go slow before we go fast, and really.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Just keeping that quality in there and just that intention, rather than just, blowing out one strain because it's popular for everyone or something. And we're really seeing a lot of examples here in Canada of what's happening. And we're about ready to do a national event here next weekend in Vancouver. Not this weekend, but the weekend after, called the Cannabis Hemp Conference. And everyone can check into that, the Cannabis Hemp Conference. It's really interesting. And, we're going to have an opportunity to talk to those different, what they call licensed producers up here in Canada. And, they're taking on a global model up here. And, we're just wanting to be a voice of reason, within that model. And the mission of what's happening in Humboldt and Mendocino is very much so felt here in British Columbia, looking at, the corporate models of growing and stuff. So we're just going to continue to, pollinate and make good seeds and create good strains and products that are intentional, and because it's the healing of people that really, is the number one goal. And when people feel good, they come back. So, that's the model going forward.
Chris mentioned talking about cultivars, and I saw, Josh, that you and Kelly posted your Zilly's gift.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a really special gift. I mean, we call it Zilly's gift. We had, two wonderful friends that got in trouble, and they got incarcerated, which is a terrible thing. And this strain comes from a Jack Herrera, and it's great because Jack Herrera was such an advocate for, decriminalization and not having people in trouble, and also just, spreading information about all the uses and stuff. So it was wonderful when we got that cut a long time ago in Eugene. We just always thought it was so special. And putting it together with the 840 that we've been working on for a long time, that was like 4 years ago when it came out. It just was a really unique flavor that really stood out and stuff. So we feel really blessed to be able to continue working with it. And, everyone's out of jail now and just working in life, to move forward. And so, it's a gift to all of us. But yeah, the Zilly's gift has a really good flavor. It has super lemon haze in it too. So it's a really lemon.
Wow. Nice.
You guys gifted me a Zilly by Homesteader, and is it the Homesteader has a THCV in it?
The Homesteader has a Temple Spice and the Zilly's gift, and we have tested the Zilly's gift to have a high THC, a THCV with us in the past.
Oh, that's what the confusion was.
Yeah.
That plant. Yeah. So I had one in a Hugel, and that plant, I swear it had the dragonfly juju on it because it was extra green, extra vigorous, and I can tell that you guys are breeding for a very adverse climate where you're at up in BC.
Yeah.
This could withstand a rain easily without any caging.
Right.
It's just an amazing cultivar, and I'm super blessed to have it. And like you're saying, it has that Jack nose, and it's such a nice example of what you guys are doing.
I think, this is an excellent example of how a diverse family in different areas can really, really benefit the whole, because, we do have a hard environment here, and we've actually had rain this year since August 20th. Since August 20th, we've been getting just hit by heavy
I love you both, and I wish we had another hour. We're at our last minute, and we have 30 seconds, so I just want to say thank you both for coming on. This has been a great show. Let's do this again with a full hour and get Josh on the beginning. But yes, I just wanted to say thank you to you both, and we've had an excellent show tonight, and I look forward to the Emerald Cup. I look forward to continuing this conversation and sowing these seeds of knowledge and compassion, to everyone that listens. You've been listening to the Cannabis Connection. I am your host, Christopher Carr. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Craig. Stay up, Santa Cruz. Have a great weekend.
For USA Radio News, I'm Rick Vincent. President Donald Trump in Missouri Friday night urging voters at a rally in Springfield.
All right, guys.
To support Republican
Give thanks.
November.
Have a great weekend.
The president spoke about the nation's surging economy and soaring stock prices.
We are finally rebuilding our nation, and we are doing it with American grit, skill, and pride.
All right.
Thursday, the president signed a historic